Hi, and thanks for joining us here at the table, giving their pearls of wisdom today. I've got Rachel, Fiona and Julie. How are you, ladies?
Good, thank you.
Well,
Very good.
Good to have you here. Well, coming up on the show, we're going to be getting a little bit environmental. We'll be talking about someone who decided not to walk into a supermarket for 12 months. We'll also be chatting to Claire Baldacchino and her love of bringing part of the bush to the city. We're also going to be doing a little bit about fighting later, but we've got Gia's cooking, we've got Mandy Makes, but first, ladies, we're going to start with our quick topics.
Ooh.
Ready?
I haven't done this before.
This is an opportunity for me to throw topics at these ladies. They don't know what I'm going to throw at them, and we're just going to get their raw thoughts on them. So
They'll definitely be raw.
let's start. So this is an easy one. Your favourite teacher, and how did they impact you? Julie, I'll start with you.
Well, I did teaching because of a teacher.
Oh, did
I had
you?
Mr. Mel Olson in Year 6 at Castle Hill Adventist, and for some reason he made a great impact on me, and I just decided to do teaching from Year 6 and did it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was easy.
Yeah. Fiona.
Carolyn Rickett, who is a lecturer in Avondale. So I think she was definitely one that dedicated and inspired me, I guess, to do better.
Oh, nice. Very good. Rach.
Oh, man. You know, when you asked this question, I thought about all of them. So I think I was just a nerdy kid who loved school. But I remember even my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Hudapia, and I was so sad when she moved away. And I don't know, I just loved all my teachers. I can remember them from kindergarten all the way through.
Kindy teachers are awesome. Your ultimate comfort food?
For me, mac and cheese, but I'm vegan now. So
what do you do?
There are vegan versions of it.
yeah, but it's not the same.
No, it's not.
No, not the same.
I'd have to say chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate?
Yeah.
Chocolate for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can eat a block.
Yeah.
I had to calm down now that I've got gestational diabetes. But
Yeah.
chocolate.
Yeah, see,
definitely
mostly for me it's savouries. I love savouries.
I love savoury
but
too.
The other week I made tapioca pudding. I'm like, oh, this is hitting my comfort food list. It was so nice.
Isn't it good when it goes down? It feels like smiley faces going
I
down
love
your
it.
throat.
I love
that. That's just like,
Those first couple of bites
that's
are
pretty
so
bad.
good.
Yeah, that shows you're pretty addicted, right?
Yeah.
And our third and final, what is your favourite worship song? Is there one that you have that you just sort of go to that you really like sitting down to listen to?
Look, I love the old school songs. Probably I Surrender All. I love that one.
That's mine.
Yeah.
That's mine. I love it.
I love, what's it? Until Then. I was
Oh,
singing
that's
that on
mine. That's mine.
Can you
Yeah.
tell that I was brought up in a real conservative church?
It's the hymns that get
Yeah,
you.
the hymns,
You
yeah.
always feel like they really had God with them when they wrote that music. There's just something about it.
And because you learn them when you're young, they
Yes.
stick with you.
Yes. I think my children will have different favourite songs because what was, favourite to them when they were in their formative years will stick with them. But
Yeah.
I love that hymn. The words are so precious.
Yeah, I think I'm less from. I love the hymns. I wouldn't say I love them, but they're part of my memories as a child. But I think there's a song that says, I can't remember the name, but it says that I'll go before you. Like it says in the lyrics, it says that Jesus will go before you. He's around you, he's behind you, and he's everywhere. And I think that that's so comforting for me in every part of life.
Yeah, well, it might be good to keep some of those worship songs on the
What
list.
about you, Rach? You didn't
Yeah.
No, I surrender
did you?
all.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Oh, okay.
That was
look,
definitely
you
mine.
pitched
'cause I
both of
love the
ours, you see.
words.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
see.
I know. Got something in common. Well, no marriage is smooth sailing. Differences and boundaries need resolving. And in discussing issues, some can get more heated than others. Finances, discipline, household management and in-laws. The list can go on. But what boundaries do you and your partner set when it comes to fighting in front of your kids? Parent.com tackled this topic in a recent article and they talk about the disadvantages and advantages of arguing in front of your darling cherubs. Now, how do you discuss things with your husband? Because I know in the article it said even from a really young age at 6 months, kids can really pick up on that tension. So how do you sort of discuss things with your husband?
I think as we've had Jax, it's become more tense. I think before there were less arguments, there were less things that we had to argue and fight about. I think now, like things can get tense and heated quickly because I think we're playing off of past experiences. So if someone reacted negatively to something before, now you react even quicker to it now in the.
And you bring part of that back into the next
you bring
argument.
3 arguments ago into the future argument, into the present argument. So I would say that we definitely don't have it worked out. We don't have this perfect system of discussing things in front of Jax or at all, And I think it's because of unresolved things that happened in an earlier discussion that we need to resolve and not bring it into something in the future. I don't know. I don't have all the answers is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no one does. We don't want them if they do. No. But how do you feel like doing it in front of the kids? Do you sort of do your discussing or your arguing? I mean, does it even get to a fight? Do you do that in front of the kids or do you make a concerted effort to make sure that they're not part of that?
I'm not good at arguing at all. I think my introverted personality comes out, and as soon as it gets to a certain level of emotion, I check out, which is probably not good. And it's the what's wrong? Nothing. What's wrong? Nothing.
So you shut down.
Yeah, it's not good. So
I bottle it up and
I do. It takes me a long time to get really upset, and when I do, then I really hang on to it, which is not good. So I've noticed my friends who get there quickly, but they go quickly.
And they get over it.
They get over it
I'm
quickly.
a lot like that.
Yeah.
Like I'll get there very quickly.
Yeah.
But after a few days, because there are sometimes things don't get resolved straight away, and after a few days, I'm like, I'm so exhausted by this, I'm done, and I move on. And I sort of get over it.
Move on.
I don't move on.
I hold on.
What I've tried to do this time is, I think, if it's still upsetting me the next day, then I'll talk about it, because 9 times out of 10 by the next day I'm going, oh, I don't care about this anymore. But if it's still worrying me a couple of days later, then I'll go, we need to talk.
Yeah.
The words that every husband hates. We need to talk. And that's probably only happened 3 or 4 times in the last 5 years. Mm. But that's what I try and do now. Yeah.
What's your approach?
Well, look, we try and not argue with them because I can get quite heated. Experience has told me that I can get quite heated. And it's actually got to the point where, like, for example, sometimes the girls will say to their dad, you need to say sorry to mum.
Oh,
You
really?
need to hug mum. So they know that's something that I tell them. When you're arguing with your siblings or your cousins, say sorry. So then when they see us arguing and don't touch me, one of the girls will be like, Dad, you need to hug mum or you need to say sorry. And I'm like, don't touch me. Don't touch me, But we're working on it. Like Rach, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting better. If you pray about what you're arguing, as long as you're not arguing about the same thing.
What I found really interesting is if you read down the article and then you read people's comments, that was really interesting because everyone was happy to voice their opinion. One lady said that she said her parents never argued in front of her when she was a kid, and when she grew up and had a relationship, they would have conflict and then she'd freeze. She wouldn't know what to say. She didn't sort of have any example to learn from or play off there. So
I think there's
got to be value in it.
Well, my parents didn't argue in front of me, but my parents are divorced. And I'm not saying that there's a correlation, but I do think that you do need to be able to understand how to have a healthy disagreement with someone and still resolve it and know that you're going to love each other after the situation's over.
But I think you argue according to your personality. If you're someone who's really out there and explosive, you're going to want to argue that way. If you're someone who's quieter and you have to deal with it in your own way.
I think that's a really good point. You've sort of got to bring yourself into it. Well, I was going to say, look, as long as our kids are watching that, the way we're fighting, we can end it well and we can resolve it and love each other. I think that's a really healthy way for kids to see it happen, I hope. We're going to pass you off to Mandy. She's going to show us how to make a bronzing bar.
It's always nice to have a tan or a little bit of a glow during the summertime, but some of those self-tanning products can be really difficult to use, leave you looking orange, and they have some scary ingredients in there that no one can really pronounce. So I'm going to show you how you can make your own simple bronzing bars at home to get a nice natural glow. So you are going to need some coconut oil, some wax, beeswax or soy wax. You'll need some shea butter, and you'll also need some cinnamon, nutmeg and cocoa powder. That's going to give us our colour. You'll need a double boiler setup, so some hot boiling water, a glass jug or a glass bowl to go over the top. You'll need some nice silicone moulds, and we'll need a container to store these in. So let's get started. I'm going to pop my jug over my hot water here. Using a jug makes it a lot easier for pouring into our moulds in the end. I'm going to be adding in 1/4 cup of beeswax and 1/4 cup of our shea butter. So this is our moisturising properties. So we're going to stir this all up until it is completely melted. All right, we have got all of the lumps out of our mixture. It is nice and clear, so we're going to take that out of our hot water and add in our ingredients that are going to give us some colour. So in here, I have 1 teaspoon of cocoa powder, I have 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. You could always add some essential oils if you want to add to this and make it a bit more of a perfume as well as a bronzing bar. So we're going to pour these into our moulds now. So make sure that you do use silicone. It makes it so much easier to get these out when they're ready to go. Right, those are just going to get put aside now to cool down. I'm going to pop them in my fridge just to speed up the process. Right, those bronzing bars have sat in the fridge for about 40 minutes and they are good to go. So you can see the beautiful colour in those. They look great and they smell really good too. All you have to do to use these is simply rub it onto a clean, dry skin. You can see some of the beautiful colour coming off on that. Just rub it all into your skin and you can see the beautiful shimmer that it gives as well as a little bit of a nice bronzed glow. Hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Let us know on our Facebook page at The Table TV Show if you tried this and what you think about it. We would love to hear from you.
There you go. Would you try one of those, Julie?
Maybe.
I definitely need it, don't you think?
Yeah.
Coming into winter, maybe.
Get that chocolate.
Clearly I do.
Yeah.
Well, does your child struggle to make friends? Are they partially shy and introverted? Or possibly is it that they suffer from a type of social dyslexia called dysthymia, which is when someone finds it very difficult to express or understand non-verbal cues? Well, The Telegraph in the UK looked at this in an online article quoting research and asking children what made their childhood happy, with friendships being the one thing that they mentioned the most. There's also new research that's quoted out there in the article about schoolwork being less important to parents than them worrying about their kids making friends and having a good social interaction as they grow up. Julie, did you worry about your kids when they first started school? Is that something that was in your mind? Because clearly the research is saying it's in kids and parents.
Yeah. Having been a primary teacher, you would think so, because I know each year when the classes would come out who was in what class, it was such a big deal every year.
It is.
For the kids and probably more so for the parents. They really worried about, you know, were they with this friend or that friend. I don't think I worried so much about it because I wasn't, my kids were so socialised by their church group and, you know, our church family friends. I didn't really think about it before then. But one of my daughters was very, very shy as a little girl. And I remember people would look at her and go, hello, and she would put her head down and hide away. And I had to actually teach her how to look at someone in the eye. I would say to her, you don't have to have a conversation, just look them in the eye, smile and say thank you and move on. So it was a really thing I had to teach.
Did that help her?
I think so. Yeah, we had to practice it, and whereas my other child, it was just easy, interacted, very social.
Does it change over time? As
They've always stayed with those basic personalities, but the introverted child has become much more confident, and I think you just get to pretend as you get older.
Yeah. I think it's true because I guess you're basically saying what the article is saying is that, you know, you need to teach some of those social skills that one of the moms was saying she thought making friends came naturally and that her kids would just naturally pop into a group of kids and make friends. But sometimes you have to teach those things that will help a kid make friends, you know. So I think it's good to be able to know that you can empower your kid to be more social if that's not their natural bent, you know, if they're not naturally a social person. But everybody wants that connection and friendship, you know?
Yeah, you do. It's really important. As a primary teacher, Julie, did you see any kids that sort of that they sort of went beyond the shyness and beyond any introversion and sort of really had problems picking up on body language at all, though?
Do you know what? It was a long time ago before kids. My memories. It's a long... yeah, probably. But then, you know, it's very hard as a primary teacher to be able to really know what that is.
Yeah.
It needs to be taken further for the parents. You know, I think parents are very perceptive and you kind of know if your children are having issues, and parents will pick up on it very early.
Do you think the day and age we live in with technology and whatnot is also hindering that connection with having, you know, friendships in school because we're so engaged with what's going on in our hand, like technology-wise?
It's got to be playing a role, hey?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much body
And then people
language.
can't read empathy and
Yeah.
can't read someone's social
Yep.
cues, and
Yeah.
that's concerning for me.
Can I tell you, my daughter's just come back from junior camps, super camps, and she remembers when she was there, the first day they get there, they'd be out there, they'd be kicking a football, the girls would be running around screaming their heads off down on the flats at Crosslands. She said this year, it's so different. They're in their rooms. You can't get them out of their rooms.
wow.
She
There
said,
you go.
yeah. And
Interesting.
by the last day they were starting to mix, but it took the whole week to get them out of their rooms.
Yeah, well, it's something we're all concerned about, but someone who doesn't have any trouble with social cues is Gia and Olive. They're in the kitchen making some summer rice salad.
Hi, my name's Olive, and today we're making rice salad.
We're making a summery rice salad because the weather's really hot. This is a simple salad. It's easy to put together. You can double the recipe if you're having guests. Okay, so it's very simple. We are putting 2 cups of rice, cooked brown rice. If you want to cheat, just buy the packet ones that are already done at the shops. It's pretty easy. We're going to put 1 whole red onion, finely diced, a whole red capsicum. This is such a colourful salad, perfect for this weather. This really helps make the salad. It's apple. It's just red apple chopped up. You don't have to take the skin off. It's good because it actually gives the salad a crunch and a fresh burst of sweetness. And 1/3 of a cup of just chopped parsley. And 1/3 of a cup of raisins, which give it a really nice sweet flavour with the curry.
Sultana.
Sultanas, okay. So we are making the dressing for it, which is 2 teaspoons of the curry powder. So 2 teaspoons of curry powder, 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar, 1 whole garlic clove for the dressing, 1/4 of a cup of olive oil, just a nice mild olive oil because you don't want it to overpower the taste, and 2 teaspoons of maple syrup, Olive's favourite, maple syrup. Can you come and shake this for me? Shake it really well, okay? Because that's the dressing that we're going to put on top of the salad. Look how amazing this salad looks. Look at these colours. The kids love it, filling because of the rice. Come on, you finished? Okay, that was good shaking. Were you dancing and shaking? Okay, we'll pour it on top. Do you want to pour it on top for me? All right. Whoa, and I'll mix it through. Be sure to make this rice salad. It is delicious. And also, if you want some more recipes, we've got so many on our website. It's thetabletv.com. And if you want to go to our Facebook page, we've got plenty on there too. It's The Table TV Show. And we will see you at the next episode. Enjoy the salad.
Very nice, looks delicious. Thanks, Gia. Now, if you'd like to get your hands on some more fantastic ideas for healthy meals, we're giving away this recipe book today, Health and Happiness, and it's absolutely free. All you need to do is just send us an email, hello@thetabletv.com, and include your postal address and the name of this recipe book. Or you can just give us a call. In Australia, it's 1300 300 389. Or for all our Kiwi viewers watching on Hope Channel, the number is 0800 694 673. Well, in the studio with us today, we have a guest who's described herself as a planted gypsy and says she has a deep desire to return to the simple life working with the land and not against it. She's fed up with the fanatic pace of the city and the lifestyle of Sydney. We've got Claire Baldacchino. Welcome to the studio, Claire. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Now, you are the founder, the owner, the grower of Picket Fence Organic, and you grow microgreens. Can you just tell us what microgreens are?
Okay, so a microgreen is basically a tiny little plant, ones that you can eat. So a vegetable, say a radish or broccoli, but in the tiny version. So
Okay, you've got some here, so we want to see them.
That's right. So this is how you get.
So they don't grow to the full length of a radish.
You just don't let them.
Oh, you don't. Oh,
You don't let them. So you stop them growing. So for
Like the
example, the
baby
purple ones.
Why do you do that?
The purple ones over there, that's a radish.
Okay.
So you just let it to go this high, and then you cut it off with scissors and put it in a salad and eat it like that.
Right, does it grow back and you can just
No,
keep
everyone,
doing
that's the first question everyone asks. Does it grow back? I'm like, sorry, no, it doesn't. But the good thing about it is you're getting all the nutrients from the seed in that little plant.
Right.
So it's like highly compacted nutrients all in one go. And they did a study and they said it's between 4 and 40 times the amount of nutrients in the small plant than there would be in the adult.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Are they,
So it's worth it.
are they easy to grow?
Well, that's kind of a tricky question. They're easy at the beginning, but to get them perfect, it's a bit of an art.
Right.
But everyone can do it. So it's not something that's just,
So how long does it take to?
So these pretty pink ones, they take a week.
Oh,
They are
okay.
And most
Love
of them
the
take
colour.
a week,
Right.
but some of them take a bit longer, but about a week.
You said perfect. Does that mean like nutritionally perfect or just the beautiful way they look there?
They just look beautiful. No, they are nutritionally amazing as well, though.
No, but I mean, when you said perfect, you said it takes more art to get them perfect.
To get them perfect, as in sometimes they need special situations. So they need perfect amount of sunlight, perfect amount of water, perfect amount of humidity and ventilation. So those things come in to make it a little more complicated.
So you need a really green thumb to do this.
A little bit.
Now, you're selling these all around Sydney, but you're quite specific in how far around Sydney you'll go. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and why?
Well, I'd kind of like to keep it local. you know, the idea of the amount of food miles from farm to table is important because we spend so much money and fuel trying to get our food delivered to us from who knows where, even the other across the other side of the world, that it's good to have things that are grown locally. And so I'm trying to keep it local.
I love the containers they're in.
They're compostable.
Wow.
So when
These
you're
containers?
finished, when
Yeah.
you're finished, it's waterproof.
Yeah.
But when you're finished using them, you can just chuck the whole thing in the compost and it'll turn back to soil.
Great.
So you wouldn't have much waste at all then, would you?
None at all.
Oh, that's brilliant. So
That's how people buy them in those little containers.
Yeah, so I grow them in
Yeah.
that, and that's how you buy them. And then as you want to use them, you just cut them off and use what you like.
Yeah.
How full do you get on that?
Well, it's salad.
I know, right? The big eater's like, how full do you get on that? Where's the rest of it?
But I tell you, that it's the best salad. Not just mine, but anyone who grows microgreens will tell you it's the best salad you've ever had.
Yeah.
So are
you
you
can
selling
try,
to
girls.
restaurants as well?
Yeah. Restaurants and cafes.
They're very popular in restaurants,
Yeah.
aren't they now?
They use it mainly
Yeah.
as garnish. But if you grow
Yeah.
it yourself, you could, you know.
I was going to say, so if you
Yeah.
wanted
Big
to start
salad.
this up at home with your kids, what would sort of some tips that you'd give us? And can I try one while you're telling
please.
us?
Just make sure you use 2 hands or you'll use the whole
Do you
plate
want me
on
to hold
your
it for
lap.
you while you do it?
Some
Try
tips.
this purple one.
I
for
would,
parents at home with kids, because I reckon kids would love these. These
yeah,
are so
they're
colourful.
fun,
They're great.
and you can see
Want
it
some?
grow quickly instead of having to wait months in ahead, waiting for it to grow.
I feel like I'm only going to get the. What are these pink ones? that
They
we're
are
pulling out?
called red garnet amaranth.
Taste a little bit like
So is it-
beetroot. They have a
Everyone
beetroot
says
flavour.
that, but I'm not sure they do. I think everyone
No.
just looks at them and goes, they look like beetroot.
See, I don't like beetroot, so that's why I was like, ooh,
Try
I'm
the
getting,
sunflower.
but that's nice.
So
Try
what's the
sunflower.
adult plant of that?
Let's,
What is
So it turns
Let's
into
try a
a
good portion of it, huh?
quite a high bush that gets
Go for it.
sprigs of seeds on it, and they use it as
Right.
grain. You know how you can sometimes get popped amaranth in the shop, like quinoa?
Yeah, puffed or...
Yeah, it's
yeah.
the same family.
that's
but
the
it's
baby version
the pink
of it.
one. Yeah, it's the pink baby version. And then these the larger leaf one are sunflower,
Yeah, I think I tried some of this.
and they'll taste like the seed, but just more salady.
So can I ask, what do you typically eat, like for your dinner? Is this dinner for you? Would this be
No,
dinner?
I would eat say like a vegetarian schnitzel or something with that,
Right.
and an enormous bowl of salad.
Yeah.
But it's the nicest salad because it's so puffy and it's so fresh.
So fresh.
And, yeah.
And the flavours are really intense.
Yeah. So I do rocket as well, and so you
Right.
can imagine tiny little rocket, like so strong.
So
Yeah.
is the flavour
Wow.
more intense because they are so young?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. As they grow older, the flavour goes.
Yeah.
So here's a really
Would you put
practical.
dressing on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't put it on here because it makes it look a bit messy. But later on, you girls get to eat the rest, and I'll have dressing.
Great.
As a really practical question, do you? I always struggle with like a fork or a spoon, or how do you actually get that off the plate
question.
into your
Yeah.
mouth?
Fork usually.
Use a
fork?
biodegradable fork.
Use your reusable fork.
Well, Claire, I'll get you to stick around for our next topic because I think it sort of connects and relates, and maybe you can give us some tips on what really went on here. There's a gentleman by the name of Oliver Brown, and he set himself the challenge of not going into a supermarket for 12 months. So for 365 days, he lived off the land. Why, you ask? Good question. He did it, the ABC news article says, so that he could find out if he could do it. Not really sure it's a challenge I set myself, but he sort of grew his own vegetables, had chickens. He even went hunting for goats, as you do.
For wild goats.
Yeah, for wild goats. Do you identify with this in any way, Claire? Because you come across as a free spirit and you love the land. Would you set yourself this challenge?
I don't know, I've never thought about doing that actual challenge, but I definitely like to live off the land. Like, that was actually my idea to begin with. I wanted to farm.
When did you start doing this?
I started learning to grow them about a year ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you've been living kind of off the land. For
Yeah, sort of. So I have a massive garden in the backyard,
Yeah,
which I
imagine.
mainly eat off.
Right.
And I would like to farm. That was my idea. I want to farm, but I don't have enough space because I live in the city. So I wanted to try urban farming. Right. Microgreens is perfect for that because it doesn't take much space. But as far as food growing, we have plenty of it for us to live on in the backyard. So yeah, I really do. I would love to do what he's doing.
Are you vegetarian as well?
Yeah, I'm vegetarian, so I don't have to shoot goats.
So you would have
Yeah.
to.
I could
Thank
not.
you. Yeah.
I could not do that part of it.
That's what really
Yeah.
threw me, the whole goat thing and skinning it. And he said he would always feel a little bit sad when his wife and daughter would sort of put cheese on their food, and
Yeah.
he knew he couldn't because he'd set himself this challenge. But I don't know. What would you miss the most, Julie, if you did something like this?
Protein?
Protein? You could
have your own
goats.
Pardon?
You could hunt goats or
Oh
rabbits.
no, couldn't do that.
You can have your own chooks.
Yeah.
There's always
Yeah,
a bush turkey
eggs
around.
and-
Yeah. There is that our way.
You seem to have a lot of meat.
Yeah, he said he
did.
survived on a lot of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a lot of growing.
He did take a couple of staples with him. He said, like coffee. Probably needed it. I think there was oats and a few other things that he sort of bought at the beginning of the year, but still managed not to go into a supermarket for 12 months.
See, I feel like that's a bit of cheating. Like if you take a bunch of supplies with you into the challenge and say, I'm not going to go to the... Well, I mean, I could shop for, a whole year and say I'm not going to go to the grocery store for a year. So if that's what he did, like if he took a bunch of provisions with him and said, I'm not going to shop for
I think it was only 10 things, so it wasn't a huge amount of provisions, but mostly he was able
If I had to grow my things, I'd starve for sure. I'd need Claire to bring my
I don't
micros.
think he had a lot of time on his hands. Like I
It said that he spent 3 hours a day in his garden and then longer milling his flour, and that would be really hard.
That would be really hard.
Yeah.
And he did say when he went to conferences for work or whatever, he did have to sort of negotiate those circumstances and eat what he could there.
Yeah.
But how long has it been, like, between you having trips to the supermarket? Like, is it every couple of days? Is it a week? Is it a month?
It'd be different between me and my husband. I could go like 2 weeks, but my husband feels
So do you
like...
stock up for 2 weeks?
No, if I were to, I live with my husband, so of course that doesn't happen. But I would stock up for a while and then eat off of that. Whereas he might think, oh, I need this or I need that.
Yeah.
I look at my cabinet and say, this is what I have. What do I need to make from what I have?
You're resourceful. I'm quite wasteful in that sense. So we probably go to the shopping centre maybe every second day because it's a way out. It's to get out mental
Get out of the
sanity.
house.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I've got a trolley full that I'm walking at home with. That's why we've got to look at the budget.
My auntie calls it the pantry. Oh. I'm just going to pop down to the pantry.
Nice. That's a great name for someone to name a shopping centre. It's a good idea. Yeah, the Woolies. Claire, I was going to say, I'll ask you, he said in the article it was definitely cheaper. Would you say that living off the land or even growing and eating your own food is cheaper?
Yeah.
Because you're certainly putting a lot more time into it, so,
Yeah, you're swapping out time for money. It's a bit like the old days when you lived off the land proper, like when the people who were agrarian, they didn't have much money. They had plenty of time to work in the garden. That was what they were doing. And it's sort of going back to that.
Also health-wise, how have you found it? Living off the land and
much
living
better.
organically?
Much better because you're constantly thinking, you don't go, okay, so I'm going to have Mexican today. You're like, what's in the garden?
Yeah.
And then you're putting together from what you have. So it's always going to be healthier because you're not at the supermarket.
I think that's what I would struggle with is the time that you have to invest in it, because everything's about convenience now. Even being vegan, I have to spend more time thinking about food, but then adding to that, growing the food as well as taking care of everything, that'd be a lot harder.
I think the appeal for me is just the whole slowing down. Like, I think when you've got to work off the land, you have to slow down. Yes, you're working harder for your food and for all that sort of thing, but you're not got those constant deadlines.
You're probably not grazing either.
He said he lost a lot of weight because he wasn't snacking
Because you know how much effort it is to get that food.
Oh, well, good luck. If anyone else is out there has tried that, I'd love to hear from you. Let us know what your experience was like. That'd be really interesting to hear, or how long you've gone before you've been back to the supermarket. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining us. You're welcome to jump onto our social media on Facebook and have your say. You can subscribe to YouTube as well. For now, we'll see you next time. Bye.